Tuesday, people. Happy Tuesday, people. This is your homework support for EL 4.2. I'm really thinking about static versus flat characters in the giver. All right. Now, the organizers you're going to use will look similar to this. However, again, you can always just bullet point and just write C, E1, E2, T, CT, and W. I'll leave it up to you. All right, so how you want to do this. So the way that we talked about in class, you have a character, and then you have two moments in the text that you can work on. Now, if you do the Google Classroom assignment, what I have already up there, I'm giving you characters to actually use, so I kind of help you with that. However, if you decide not to use Google Classroom, then I'm gonna let you choose any character, and you do go through the process by yourself. So you decide how you want to do this. So I'm going to assume that we're going to follow the Google Classroom, so I'm going to go with that. Okay. So we're going to focus on one character. In this case, for this model that we have in class, we focused on mother. You have your two moments in the text that you want to pull evidence from and pretty much figure out the trait first. Because once we know the trait, we can then attach that trait to a character type. In this first piece of evidence, we talk about mother tying Lily's hair ribbons because she doesn't want the hair ribbons coming down. It's against the rules for girls who are a 7 to have hair ribbons out of their hair. And normally when Lily does it, they fall out, so mother says, I'm going to do it for the ceremony. The second piece of evidence talks about mother's job and the fact that her role is that she is to give punishments to people who break rules or don't follow the commands of the community. And in this particular situation, there was a guy who got in trouble again, and he's almost close to his third transgression, meaning he will be released if he reaches 3. And she was upset at him for getting himself in trouble again, causing her to have to give him the punishment and getting him one step closer to being released. And so that was the second piece of evidence. So based on both of those, I want to ask myself, well, what kind of woman is mother? In these two situations, does mother seem to show that she has a trait where she is obedient, where she follows orders, or she follows requests? Is she someone who is stoic, who can endure pain and hardship without complaining? Or is she practical, meaning that she is someone who acts rather than waiting to follow the book and then acting? So a doer versus a follower kind of thing, all right? So there's a few things. I'm going to start with the flat. And then based on that, we're going to pick the character type and why. Now in our notes, we know static characters have one trait that doesn't change. They're normally supporting characters. Their purpose is to stir conflict, but their purpose may also be to help the main character in whatever the challenge or task is. And we know they spend a lot of time with the main character. With our flat characters, we know they can have one or two traits that never change. Oftentimes, they also can stir conflict, or they're the characters who are there for understanding. So they may not be there all the time, but they do kind of pop in every once in a while for understanding, to help characters understand stuff. And then we have, and that's pretty much it for flat. So that's our flat. And they could be supporting or they could be the main character. All right. So we have mother, and there were two things. Each cohort has something very different. So I'm going to show you both because really it's all about can you support what you said at this point. And so not, this isn't science. I'm not going for right or wrong. It's like, can you support? What about the text can you argue to help support what you're saying? So in one class, they said that mother is obedient. Okay? So they marked off obedient. And they said, and then because of that, they saw her as a static character. Okay? They saw her as a static character. And the reason why they saw her as a static character is for two things. One, they said, well, she has one trait. Now, both flat and static both have one trait, so they could have been both. But the first part was that she's obedient. It's just one, so they say, you know what? I feel like mother is static because she has this one trait. But what switched them all the way to static and not flat is because she frequently is around Jonas. When it comes to dinner, anytime she's at home, or anytime Jonas is at home, he interacts with his mom. So for that situation, they say, you know what, she's static. She's static because she follows one trait. She's also static because she hangs around the main character pretty often. Pretty often. Which is fine. It follows the notes. The evidence is there. It makes sense. Now, another cohort has something totally different. They say, you know what, I think Mother is flat. And the reason why I think Mother is flat is because they saw her as two things. They said she's obedient, but they also saw her as practical. And they said she's practical because in the first piece of evidence, she would rather let Lily tie her own ribbons, which she's done in the past, than to follow the rule of her tying them or keeping them tied tight. The only time she decided to do this was for the ceremony. So the fact that normally she allowed Lily to do her own thing, except for this one situation, that particular cohort said, you know what, I can see her as practical. And I thought that was really good, the way they used the evidence, that was clear. So practical really did go with evidence one, the fact that she would rather let Lily do her own thing than to follow the rule and never let Lily do it so that she's never breaking the rule of having ribbons fall out of her hair. So because of her being both obedient and practical, automatically said, well, she has to be flat because she has two traits. But we wanted to go further, so not just traits. What else can we say? And we went with the fact that she also helps with understanding, because it's through Mother that Jonas understands his stirrings. It's through the conversation at the evening ritual meetings, the sharing of feelings for dinner, that he's able to understand his feelings. And so it's these things where Mother is involved, where he's able to understand a little bit more about himself and what he's going through. And so this is a way that we pretty much wrote in class. Mother's a flat character because based on our notes, she shows two traits, obedient and practical. Additionally, her purpose is to help Jonas with different understandings. So depending on how you're using your notes and how you're really thinking with the text, your character may end up being static, it may end up being flat, but it's all about, do you have the evidence to support? Can you use evidence to support? All right, and use the notes to actually support that evidence as well. If you are going to do a character, I will push you to do either Lily, or I'll let you do Father. Lily or Father again from class. Okay? Lily or Father again. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this helps.